Of all the religions of the world, one of the most mystical is that of Sufism. Its roots are Islamic, and the practice is one of the heart. Sheikh Kabir Helmisnki was the first Westerner recognized as a sheikh or elder in the Mevlevi order of Sufism, which dates back to the 13th century and is based on the works of the great poet and philosopher Rumi. In the West, we know little of this tradition other than the beautiful poems of Rumi, which have been excerpted to appear on greeting cards. Here, Sheikh Helmisnki explains that, among other things, Sufism has been at the heart of Islam, but has been marginalized somewhat by extremism.
I would like it if you could begin to tell me about the essence of the Sufi way.
Yeah. Well, let's start with Rumi, since he has been the major voice of Sufism in the West recently. And very popular, very beloved. People intuitively sense that there's something here of beauty and value. But Rumi was not unique or even innovative in the Sufi tradition. He's completely exemplary. He's an organic outgrowth of a tradition that goes back to the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, and the revelation of the Quran. Some people have suggested that Sufism predates Islam. If they mean mysticism predated it, Islam, of course. But the qualities that we associate with Sufism really were exemplified beginning with the Prophet and the revelation that came through him, and particularly the language, the metaphysics, the vocabulary, the context, was all established about 14 centuries ago. And Rumi and the other great Sufis are organic outgrowths of that. They're almost like fractals of that original truth or revelation. So Rumi is exemplary of this spirituality that is very much grounded in life, integrated with our humanness, and I think that's one of the attractions. People innately sense that the spirituality that Rumi offers is the fulfillment of our humanness, not something that marginalizes our humanness or disregards it, but for Rumi and for all Sufis, and also for the Prophet Muhammad, becoming fully human in cooperation with the divine while living an integrated, useful, practical life. These are the conditions in which our greatest spirituality can be reached without sacrificing the highest dimensions of human spiritual attainment. In other words, without sacrificing the experience of oneness and the transcendent, awesome experience of the divine, but integrated with a humble human life.
And this is interesting when you're talking about this integration, because we are here at the Science and Non-Duality Conference, in which you've been invited to speak. And you've been invited throughout your career into some other places normally reserved for more traditional thinking. I understand, correct me if this is not accurate, that you were invited in as one of the first, or the first representative to speak on the Sufi way to Harvard and to the Religious Studies Department. So you've been breaking ground all along the way, but it struck me as interesting at this event in particular, because I'm hearing a lot of really heady stuff about everything short of scraping brain cells onto a slide and trying to dissect and figure out what consciousness is. It's very science-oriented.
Yes.
And then there's you, and there are a few others that would be considered to be more connected into the notion of the mystical realms. Why are you here, and what is the science and non-duality aspect of Sufism?
Good. I would like to sort of start with the subject of the human heart. The human heart understood as our foremost instrument for knowing, and what the heart can know. Science so far is receiving information through the senses, and when I say through the senses, I mean through the investigation of the material world, which has led science into dimensions of knowledge that have to do with energy and ultimately the relationship of human intention or mind to energy and material. And this is a very exciting area. But I would maintain that science is still at a very crude stage of understanding the whole picture of existence and the human being's place in existence. And what's so far missing from science, which I would like to bring attention to, is that through this very extraordinary instrument called the heart, human experience is opened up to a qualitative universe. What about a science of qualities? Are we even close to that yet? What I mean by qualities are things like sensing meaning and significance, sensing relationship, sensing the tenderness of the universe, the way in which the universe is intelligent and nurturing, and the way every human being who is not, shall we say, pathologically handicapped, disabled, every healthy human being finds joy in relationship, and in relationship discovers qualities that are the most valued, enduring qualities that we know in our experience. So it's the heart that gives us that capacity. The human being who experiences himself or herself as a finite entity with a limited lifespan. I seem to be talking in duality, but bear with me. We experience ourselves as finite encountering the infinite. In that experience, we are open to things like humbleness, awe, love, appreciation of beauty. Beauty not just on a physical level, but we even have a sense of spiritual beauty as a possibility, as a yearning for something extraordinarily pure and beautiful. This is innate in our souls, in our heart, in our experience. If you don't believe in soul and heart, well, let's just say in our experience. And in speaking about spirituality, this is a little footnote, I'm speaking not from some doctrine primarily, but from experience and my own presence as a laboratory of experience. So as I look to my own experience, I see there are all these extraordinary possibilities as an individual, and I'm an individual. How does that relate to this non-dual reality? Well, it's a beautiful paradox that the enigma of individuality is resolved in the experience of relationship with a divine source. The Sufi, to put it simply, knows that our consciousness, our love, our will, our capacity for forgiveness, every function and quality of our being is given to us, graced to us by an infinite source of life. And at a certain stage, as you make that journey of consciousness into yourself, as you step back behind your desires, emotional reactions, passing thoughts, and come to that realm of pure subjectivity, you experience that our very presence, our consciousness, is sourced in that, let's call it, non-dual reality, which we call Allah. Fortunately, the Quran is pretty fastidious in not creating any dogma about Allah, about God. God is indescribable, cannot be conceived, therefore cannot be argued about. It's a very, very refined and subtle notion of the divinity that exists in Islam. And Sufis have found the Quran to be a beautiful vehicle for expressing and understanding this non-dual reality. But what it comes down to very simply is that there is no power nor agency but with God. And the human being is, as an individual, is the fruition of the divine in this realm of existence, and that the purpose of our lives is to come to more fully know the awesome beauty and generosity and intelligence of the divine. So that, simultaneously we have individuality, and we have that individuality sourced in the ground of being, and yet we have a purpose here in life, which is to know and love God. And we do that through ourselves, through our own experience, through relationship, and through the capacity of the heart, which has an extraordinary capacity to know, sense qualitatively, not just quantitatively or mathematically, the universe of qualities. Sorry for a rather long answer. But
No, long answers are good. It's interesting because even in the world of science, with all of our engineering of new technologies to be able to detect intelligence and life of all kinds, one of the things that's emerging from that is that the heart itself appears to have understanding prior to the brain. Mm-hmm. It's our original sensing device.
Yes.
That is connected to, we can say now, perhaps a unified field, the all.
Yes.
And so the validation for beginning to allow the heart to speak is even there within the scientific realms, which is interesting because it seems as though people have needed permission somehow since we've entered this materialistic paradigm a couple hundred years ago. People have needed permission since then to listen to the heart. Now science says it's okay, you can listen to the heart.
Yes.
It actually gets it before the brain. So we'll just put that out there as a little modern context to what you're saying.
Yes. And of course, by the heart, I mean more than the physical heart.
Yes.
I don't mean to limit it to or I don't mean to reify what I'm talking about to mean the physical heart. And yet the physical heart itself is extraordinary.
It's intuitive, it's connected.
It's intuitive, and it has a huge electromagnetic phenomena in our own being. And
you're speaking of heart with a capital H, and I do understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to take it into an undeniable realm of even the small H heart.
Yes.
We can't deny this any
absolutely.
longer.
Yes. And that's helpful. Yeah.
Yes. And now, are the Sufis sometimes thought of almost as an extremist sect within the Islamic faith because of the deep